Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would have a look at the new map, Iberian Castle. This is technically not on the dev server right now, but it is in the files. So I thought, why not have a look around it and see what's kind of going on. Because it's always fun doing these things, like looking at stuff and seeing what it's about. You know, the general setup of it at the moment looks very similar to the Italian map, at least in the color scheme and the amount of stuff that's around the place, which kind of makes sense. And also, there's a lot of soft cover around the place, so a lot of things to stop light vehicles as we go around it, but a ton of paved areas as well. The major area, at least from what I've seen so far, since we don't know exactly where the capture points are at the moment, there's a ton of paved area which kind of sits itself around the place, which is super fun. It means that many of the general areas are going to be quite interesting to fight over, because there might be somebody behind any corner. Luckily, with a lot of hard cover around, it means that you can kind of push each way and kind of see, you know, what's going on. But that's like the city part, which, as I said, is very similar to the Italian map. But then there's other parts as well, such as the castle itself. And the castle itself is very much destroyed and very much more open than the city part. So you have this area of kind of close fighting, and then over here it's a lot more open with a little bit of cover, kind of like Carpathians in the north side of it. And then you have, of course, the hard walls, which you can sit behind and have a bit of fun on. So for me, there's at least the same setup you see here as many other maps, where you have different areas which feel slightly different to be able to fight around, and then that means that, you know, people can have a bit of fun and play the play styles they want to. There's a bunch of different things though that will influence, you know, how people play. Obviously this hill over here, if you're able to get onto it, will look over a lot of the battlefield. There are a lot of general flanking routes because of how the destroyed area is. You know, you have a bunch of different places you can go to and have a bit of fun with, so maybe that will help out people to make the map a little bit less stagnaty, which is something that can happen when you have a map which has like a huge city area like this one does. It also showed a lot of open plains on the map, especially in the dev blog. There are quite a lot of open plains, including this one over here. I really hope that this isn't one of the spawn areas, because if it is, then it's going to be very easy to cover with, you know, this setup from the castle. It does look pretty nice over here, like, I'm not going to lie. It's once again just looking at like the city area that you have over here, and then you have the castle, which looks really nice over here. But from a gameplay point of view, it's going to be pretty rough, because there's not really too much you can do apart from just get shot if you're behind some of the landscape. But there is a few other things to look at in the map. You have this huge road which just kind of goes around it, so that'll be very fun to create races around, which is always, you know, an enjoyable thing, especially if we compare it once again to the Italian map. And then also you have a ton of buildings which all look slightly different, a ton of architecture, and a lot of soft cover, including fences and bushes and all of that general stuff. And you can see here you have a few new destructible things that kind of exist around the place, which also will be quite good. So I'm hoping that people enjoy this one. I think in general, when I look at the setup, it just reminds me more of like a Sweden with the look of the Italian map, and that's a pretty decent mix. Sweden had a few issues when it first came out. One of the major ones was since you were enclosed, you had to, you know, just basically fight one-on-one. You've even got like a football pitch here, which is pretty cool. The other one was the simple fact that the sound design on the map was completely screwed, which was a huge issue on the map going forward. So I'm hoping that that's not a problem. I'm hoping that that isn't too much of an issue. You can already hear a few people over here showing that sitting in areas will be very good to do, and hopefully will mean that you can kind of like go around the place, and let's say somebody's looking down this road, then you can dip down the other one to be able to try and go around and have a bit of fun with it and try and do you know, a decent amount of damage, and then go around that area and then just keep doing that over and over again. Like the flanking routes that you have on these roads is going to be quite nice as long as you don't have multiple people just sat on the roads, which would be a bit of a problem. The, I suppose, church, you'd probably class it as, or mosque or synagogue or whatever it is, looks pretty cool. A nice central piece to the town itself, looks very cathedral-y, and of course the nice little park area around it, which gives you a bit more open space to move around. A lot of cool arches as well, once again reminding of Italy, and a lot of the areas around that, like the Italian map I should say. Let's just take that guy out so he doesn't shoot us anymore. But yeah, the map for me, like if we have a look at the areas, you know, that we saw, I thought it's generally pretty nice. There's hopefully going to be a lot of different playstyles that people can bring out. There is quite a lot of hard cover between the castle area and this area, but once you're in the castle area, it's going to be pretty much a fight to the death because you're not going to be able to reposition once you move around there, kind of similar to Quarry in the south of it. But to get into it might be quite easy to do since there is so many, you know, openings to do it, and then also at the same time it's so far blocked off from the rest of it. So if there's a cap here, if there's a cap in the center, and then another cap over there, I think it'll be quite fun to fight over. There's no like huge sight lines that you can cover massive areas of the map from. One of the problems with maps like this, which are heavily dense in areas, is if somebody kind of just gets through and nobody kind of picks them up, then one of the problems you can have is they can just go and spawn camp super easily, and that would be a problem on a map like this, I think. But I'm just hoping that that isn't the case. I'm hoping that people, you know, traverse around the place, have a bit of a decent time. Like even with like the altitude advantage here, you can see like all of the houses and stuff which are in the way, and also at the same time you have, you know, all of this area over here as well, which turn up, and generally it just seems pretty fun, you know. Like my guess is that this area might be a bit of a problem because of the whole campy nature of it, but if people get sick of this area and the campy nature of it, they can always just go and fight in the city, and as long as the majority of the points are in the city, then it should be okay. The map is also not huge, like it is a decently sized map, but nothing too crazy, and that means that, you know, if you die you can get back into the action pretty quickly. There's been a lot of these, I suppose you class them as like mid-sized maps that they've added to ground recently, and I think it's the way to go. The large maps, you know, they can kind of work at high tier, but usually you get bogged down after the first spawn, and the small maps just mean that the snowball effect of the game can be really rough. So this one will fit all tiers, it will fit at pretty much all of them, and I think just because of the size of it and also the general different playstyles, a lot of people will enjoy playing this map. Hopefully it works well, hopefully people like it. At the moment it looks beautiful, and that is important, you know. It's important for a map to look nice and to also be presenting nice, and for me that's what this map does in spades. Hopefully people enjoy it, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Cupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R. and Lafouche for supporting the channel.